And now we're on to part 3 of our lake creation tutorial for VR Sportfishing. We are in the game looking at our lake with its complete lack of texture, our magic hovering fish. We'll press 8 to send those back down to the bottom, press 9 to watch them swim around if we are so inclined, but they're still swimming around over a glacier. Alright, we are going to add a little bit of texture. First, let's take a moment to discuss the height that we're dealing with, though. The range from the highest peak to the lowest valley, or the lowest point on the bottom of your lake, is 255 feet. If we go to our text file, our lake definition file, we have our landscape height of 1.0, so that means 255 feet. That's the magic number. Also, we'll look at our water altitude down here. These are some important factors. By default, it's set to 30. That means 30 feet above the lowest point is where you're going to find your water. Okay, now let's go back to our text editor, and we are going to look at our height field. So that means this, the black is 30 feet below the water level, and the white is 255 feet above that, so 222 feet above the surface. That's the default. Again, we can change if we want to have 500 feet of vertical height or several thousand. We can do that by increasing the vertical scale in the definition file, and we can raise and lower the lake, the water level too. But for now, we're just going to leave this alone. I'm going to use a mask tool. We said in this step we're going to cover really simple texturing. Alright, well, this mask, if I click somewhere, it's going to select an area based on color. It has a wand range of 0, meaning it only took the pure black, the very bottom of the lake. I'm going to increase that. I want to say I'm going to get really what's on the bottom of the lake, or everything below the water line. So 30 feet of water right now out of 255 feet, it's a little less than 10% of our height is underwater. So I'm going to say 10%. We'll raise it a little bit and put this, make it visible above the water. We'll go to a 15% range. All right, I'm going to click where it's black. Now this is approximately where our water is, not counting again the bait shop that the game's going to add automatically. All right, and I'm going to save this mask. So I have a mask. In other words, the mask says the area that's highlighted here, if I do anything right now, like erase the image, I only affected the area, I'm going to undo that, that was included in the mask. I could paint it a different color, I could draw on it, whatever. But what I'm going to do next, I'm going to save that mask. Again, different image editors, different ways to do it. I'm going to call it temp. Okay, I'm going to create a new file. This time it's going to be color, RGB color, still 1024 square. This time I'm going to call it PJH Simple Lake Texture.bmp. If you want this one to be a JPEG, that doesn't hurt either. Before I forget, I'm going to go to my text file here and enter in that file name. PJH Simple Lake Texture.bmp. That's the overall texture for the lake. Save the file. Make sure I got the name the same. I do. I'm just going to start by dumping some texture on this entire map. This is, again, a really trivial way to do it. Whoops, we didn't want bricks. Let's go make it this marble here. Okay, so we've got a marbly pattern. Now, if all I did is load the game, we're going to see this stretched out over the entire land. It will look better than white, but it won't look great. I'm going to load that mask that we created, and now this image has selected the area that's basically around the water line or below. Let's change the color here. I'm going to map the color balance visually, and let's make this kind of darker and yellower. Basically we'll make it kind of brown, more like the bottom of a lake. Now I'm going to invert my mask, so now I'm selecting this, everything that isn't the lake. And I'm going to do a color balance again. This time we're going to go green, maybe a little yellow, maybe a little lighter. Not quite so light. Okay, so we've got this, that's a little too green too. Okay, that's our color. Now if I apply that, so we have green where it's not lake, brown where it is, we're going to save that, and we're going to start the game and see what that does. And again, every time you want to make changes to your lake, restart the game. Don't just leave your fishing trip and come back, but come in again, sign in. All right, again, it's mapping the lake structure. I'm going to pause recording while it does that. And just like that, it's done. A new fishing trip every time you come in is a good idea too, because a lot of things change every time you come and go. Now, it looks a lot better than the glacier that we had before. Now remember, I selected an area on the bottom of the lake that was I expected to be just a little higher than the water level by going to 15%, within 15% of black. In other words, 15%, the bottom 15% of our altitude would be brown, and that's what we got. From a distance, it doesn't look too bad. Well, it's maybe too bright. It's again, looks better than white, but we're not working on showing you right now how to create a really good texture. This is merely to demonstrate the effect the texture has on your map. Okay, so we've got brown added below the water level. I'm going to press 9, turn on the super clear water. And in fact, we can go turn on our magic boat by pressing 2, page down and get under it, and here we now have in our submarine view, again, we can turn super clear water on and off. There's some bass over there, but we have a blotchy brown bottom. Press 3 to get back out. Okay, it's better. It's not great, but it's better. If all you want to do is change your texture file, you can do that without quitting the game. You just need to switch to a different lake and come back, and it will automatically reload the texture files. But we're going to drop out of the game for now. And again, we still have this mask. I'm going to invert the mask again, so now it's selecting just what is the shoreline. I'm going to take a darker brown, and I'm going to kind of make a dark brown band right around the shoreline. The way I'm going to do that is take a paintbrush, select a size, maybe 5 pixels wide. Feathering, I'll feather it a little bit, not too much, and I will do a mask stroke. A mask stroke, in other words, it's like I took that paintbrush, if I zoom in, and drew along the edge of the mask. See that dark brown? Okay. Now I'm going to take the, I'm going to maybe decrease the contrast of my brown area a little bit and lighten it a little bit because it seems to be kind of too high contrast for what I'm looking for. I'm going to darken this the green a little bit more. Okay, so now that's what our texture looks like, and we can do all kinds of cool things. I'm going to remove the mask now, take a lighten tool and add a few highlights. Maybe I'll make this a bit bigger tool. Okay, a few highlights here. They can be in the lake or out of the lake. Conversely or inversely, I can darken, make some areas darker than they were before, add some shadows. Again, not trying to show you how to do a really good texture map, just showing the impact that all these little things can have on the effect in the game. So there you can see our dark line. It looks more interesting. We're going to save that and restart the game. And there we go. So now our hills are darker. See where I added some shadow? I made this area darker than some of the others. So you can definitely tell where I darkened parts of the landscape. And you can also see that darker band that I drew right across the edge. Now again, the overall texture that we're working on, it's not intended to give you any detail up close. We look at anything near us, it's very bland. Okay, there's our overall lake view. What this really does help gives your land some character from a distance to have this overall texture over the entire thing. Alright, next thing we're going to do in the next part of this tutorial, the next video, is we are going to talk about splatting layers. They are what's going to give us, they're going to give us the detail. So as we drive up to, say, a shore on the lake like this, instead of seeing pixels get bigger and blurrier the closer we get, what we're going to see is some grass, some rocks, some stuff like that. So, coming up in the next section, splatting layers. What are they? What do they do for your map? How do you create them? Alright, check out the next one.